Well, what do you know? The third film in the trilogy isn't always the worst one. Hello once again, watchers of good movies. My name is Nick Pell and this is once again coming from my apartment. Now today we are going to be talking about the film Star Trek Beyond. This is the third film in the new rebooted Star Trek franchise, because they're making a fourth one, so it's not a trilogy. It stars Chris Pine once again as James T. Kirk. He is the captain of the Starship Enterprise. I have only seen the first two films and then this one, so my knowledge of Star Trek lore and history very, very slim. I have friends who are really into it. Never really caught my attention. But I have enjoyed these films because they are dark, fun take on the franchise and on the idea. And this one is a bit more lighthearted. It does not have J.J. Abrams at the helm anymore. He is producing with Justin Lin. He can do a Star Trek movie apparently and do it really, really well. Now the general idea for this movie is that it starts out with the Enterprise. They're on this 5-year expedition just trying to find new life and everything. And they make a pit stop at this intergalactic city, kind of like the Citadel and Mass Effect, called Yorktown. Why it's called Yorktown, I don't know. They make a stop there, there's a distress signal that they see, and so, oh hey, we have to go out into this nebula, which is uncharted territory, and they get attacked, ship crashes, and we have our movie. Chris Pine, I thought, did really well in the movie. He plays, again, Captain Kirk. I've always enjoyed Chris Pine's performances for the most part. Into the Woods was a little iffy, but for the most part, yeah, this guy does a really good job when he does acting performances. So I once again enjoyed his portrayal of Captain Kirk. He's a much more kind of broken Captain Kirk, not necessarily in a bad way, like he's just not able to do anything. He is much more aware of his weaknesses. And I think part of that is going to be because of how close he came to death at the end of Into Darkness. And you begin to just see the weight of this job start to just drain him, and he almost wants to just get out of it. He applies for a different position, which would not make him captain anymore. And so we have that whole kind of side story. Him and Spock have these little side ideas where it's like, oh hey, after this one last adventure, I'm going to leave the Enterprise and do this other thing. It kind of bugged me because we know that a fourth film is coming. Most likely the whole cast is returning. And so, it's like, no, they're not going to actually leave. And so it kind of bugged me as a diversion for like the character arcs, because it wasn't even really that built up all that well. And they hid it from each other and just never came out into the open. Never became a conflict, just became kind of a thing, and it was an unnecessary thing. And that kind of bugged me. Zachary Quinto plays his role as Spock. He's great. In this role, I really enjoy Zachary Quinto's performance. He's a really good Spock, and I thought he did a really good job. Idris Elba plays the main villain, Krall, and he, again, does really good. It took me about half the movie to realize that it was Idris Elba in this role because of all the prosthetics and all the makeup that is on him, because it just looks very, very cool. And eventually I started to recognize his voice, and I was like, oh shit, that's Idris Elba. I forgot that he was even in this movie. And so it was just a really cool thing. And it shows that he's a very good actor when I can't even tell that stuff. Then we have a new addition to the crew, Sofia Boutella, who plays Jayla, who I don't know what alien she is, but she is this badass female warrior, and I really enjoyed her performance. She was this really cool warrior who was stranded on this planet. She bonds with Scotty really early on, and I just really enjoyed her chemistry with the cast, and especially with Scotty in general, and I just thought that she was a really fun addition. I'm excited to see what she does in the fourth film as another addition to this crew. So when the ship's being attacked and it's crashing, it's not just like a 5-second thing, and then it's just like, oh hey, we're on the planet. It's like a 20-some minute long scene where you see just very slowly the ship being torn apart, it being invaded, people dying, and eventually having to make the decision to evacuate the ship and get everybody off safely. And so it's just a very dark scene, and I really enjoyed it because it was the only really dark part of this movie for the most part, because most of it is much more lighthearted. Like, there's still violence and shit, but it's a much more lighthearted take than like Into Darkness or the original Star Trek, the original rebooted Star Trek. The action scenes were all very, very fun, very well choreographed. I really enjoyed them. Didn't really have any issues with that. I did feel like there were some plot holes in regards to, you see a character in the company of one character in one scene, and in the next scene they're with a whole different group of characters, and you never really see that transition. And that's something which kind of bugged me when I saw it. It's like, when did you get away from that individual? So just things like that did bug me a little bit when I was watching it. It's hard not to mention Leonard Nimoy when talking about this film. He obviously has passed away since this film came out, and so they do have a cool tribute and kind of a good way to honor his memory in the Star Trek universe. They have his actual character pass away in the movie, and it's just a really cool way to do it. And then we also have Anton Yelchin. I probably noticed and paid attention to Anton Yelchin's performance more than any other character in this movie, because I, for some reason, just had it in my head that he was much more of a side character. He didn't really do a whole lot, and yet in this movie, he has such a big role and is such a main character amongst this whole crew that I really felt the loss of his life, because you know this is one of his final movies, if not his final performance, and it's just such a tragedy because he's such a good actor. He's so young, and they do have a touching like for Anton thing in the credits, which I was really hoping that they would have, and I would have been very surprised if they did not. I mean, just recently he starred in a movie on his own called Green Room, which is one of my favorite films of the year so far. It showed that he can act very, very well. He was starting to make his own way in the Hollywood world, and he was starting to do his own thing. Very talented actor. Lost way too soon. There was also kind of vague setup for Star Trek 4 because they announced that Star Trek 4 is happening again before the film came out, and it's bringing back Chris Hemsworth as Captain Kirk's dad, and there's going to be a whole time travel thing of some sort probably. So I do have kind of callbacks of sorts where Chris Pine is just recounting things about his father. It's like, oh hey, my father joined Starfleet because he believed in it. I joined because of a dare. Stuff like that, and it's just kind of a duality between the two characters, which I'm assuming that they're going to really build on once the film comes out. Like maybe he has this one vision of his father, and it's not necessarily what he thinks it is. Or something along those lines. I don't know. I haven't read the script. I haven't seen the movie. It's probably going to come out in 2 years. So, yeah. But guys, I thought that Star Trek Beyond, very fun movie, very fun third installment of this new franchise. Was it my favorite? I don't think it was my favorite. I also haven't watched the other two in a very long time, so I have nothing really to base it on. But I did enjoy this film. I thought that was a fun time. It had a few issues for me, but overall, very good Star Trek movie. And I say definitely check it out if you have the opportunity and the interest. But guys, those are my thoughts on Star Trek Beyond. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Did you like it as much as I did? Did you hate it more than I did? Let me know. Like, favorite, comment, and subscribe. Once again, if you so choose, I appreciate it immensely. And as always, people, my name is Nick Pell. And once again, live long and prosper, and keep on watching.